Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for episode 10 of Survivor 43. My name is Mike Bloom, here to talk about yet another eventful episode of Survivor 43, where we saw the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat over the course of 42 minutes. And I'm very excited to break this down. I do have a checklist of how to introduce this podcast, so let me just run it down. 1, introduce the co-host of the B&B, Liana Boraas. Liana, how are you?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I just want to know what the other steps are. So please, editor, inform us.
2, introduce our guest for the podcast.
Okay.
You have checked her out on many other podcasts here on RHAP, mainly covering the art of drag, be it RuPaul's Drag Race or more recently Dragula. But we're very happy to see is sashaying away to the B&B for a stay here to boots the house down. Please welcome the great Beth Dixon to the B&B. Beth, how are you?
I'm doing great. What a wonderful intro. Man, this checklist really is paying off. I'm telling you.
Listen, it was written by a political science PhD, so you know it's done well. And
Right?
it's gonna
It's
play
excellent.
off. It's gonna play off without a hitch because we saw the entire checklist be worked through, so we know there's no way the checklist is wrong.
That's right. That's right. We're
Too
going to have
good
to
to
call
fail.
this the B&B.
There
Oh,
we go.
yes, with Beth. Yes.
There we go.
Perfect.
Triple B. And that was the third
Triple
item on my
Bs.
list is rebrand. So
Yes.
we've-
Okay.
everything's done. My to-do list is over. I'm ready to open this weekend. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We're recording this on Clarence Black Friday, where everyone gets a can of cherries that they get to open up and eat on their own. So I hope everyone's enjoying that. Yeah, I'm really pumped to get you on here, Beth. We were just talking about this beforehand, that obviously you have a lot of opinions about reality TV, scripted television as well, but we've heard your wonderful opinions on a lot of reality TV shows.
Yeah.
Nary, at least from what I've seen, a lot of stuff on Survivor. So I'm really pumped to just get your thoughts about the show in 20 plus years, let alone Survivor 43.
Oh, wow. I feel like that's a much bigger podcast. Let's
Mhm.
20 years worth of opinions for Beth. Here we go. Could you imagine? But no, I love Survivor. I've been watching since the beginning. And actually, as much as I would love to say I'm a super fan, there are still 3 seasons I have not seen. Yeah, because I went to college and I tried to go back and watch everything.
Okay,
but-
wait, so should we, Liana, let's try to guess.
Oh,
Let's try to guess
okay.
the 3 seasons that she hasn't seen.
So keep in mind, I just said I went to college.
Okay, now we're doing the fantastic thing of how old do we think Beth is?
This could be really fun or really painful.
Oh, I'm gonna say Survivor 39.
Oh my God. You just, yes,
wow, that's
exactly.
so good.
It was actually 41 and 42. She just graduated.
I'm currently in college. I'm actually not watching this season. I don't know why you have me on.
Okay, so I think so I know you're a couple years old, a year or two at least older than me. So I know that for sure. So when was I in college?
I'm gonna guess you have not seen Survivor South Pacific. Is that one?
That's actually really funny that you say that because that's the one of the top 40 countdown. That's the only one I did. So I have
God
seen
damn
South
it.
Pacific.
Foiled by the
Okay,
5-hour podcast.
Okay, but then it's probably around there. Okay, so Redemption Island.
I've seen that one.
Oh,
Have you seen Nicaragua?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God.
Should I tell you if it's older or
No, because I feel
modern?
like we're
Okay.
in the area right now.
Okay.
I'm
Okay, well
feeling the
then-
metal detector's beeping.
I think you have to have seen Heroes Villains,
Yes, I have.
right? So how do you not have seen Heroes Villains?
Right,
So
yeah.
Samoa?
I've seen that one.
Okay, maybe we're going the wrong direction, Mike.
Okay, have you seen Survivor Karamoan?
Yes.
This is the hardest game we played on the D&D so far.
I'm so
One
excited
World,
that we
One
came up
World.
with
What
the
about
one.
One World?
I've seen One World.
I was gonna say, it has to
Okay,
be
I give up.
Kim won. You have to say that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, because usually, right, we go to those seasons because they're less regarded.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
think for
Yeah.
those of us, us late 80s, early 90s kids, we were in college around that time, early 2010s, that that would make sense. But I guess that's not the case. So
I will
Beth,
give you a hint that originally you were going in the right direction.
Oh, we messed up. We went the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've seen Samoa though,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, and I think that's the correct direction that we're supposed to be going, Mike.
So are you much like Marianne, but even more so? Have you not seen Survivor Token Sheets?
I haven't.
Oh,
I haven't seen Token Sheets.
The whole thing? Or have you just not seen the last half?
I haven't seen the whole thing.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of clips. Like, it's not like I don't know what happens in the seasons. I just haven't sat down and watched them, if that makes sense.
Like 3 of them were on Heroes versus Villains. Like, you got a pretty good sense as to like who they were.
Quite a few of the cast has come back multiple times.
Yeah.
So what are the other 2 seasons then?
Gabon and China. And I know all 3 of those I know are like kind of iconic in their own way. And I kind of love that everyone just looks at me and goes, how can you call yourself a Survivor fan if never seen China? You know, and I'm like, I don't know. It's who I am. But yeah, those are the 3 seasons. I just managed to miss them. And I went back and I watched the other ones that I missed. I just have not gotten around to those with my busy schedule.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I would say that Survivor Gabon, I mean, listen, you formerly co-hosted a podcast called Hot Mess Moments, and that is like the consummate hot mess season of Survivor. So I feel like it would be right up your alley.
Yeah, no, it really should be. Honestly, if we ever revitalize Hot Mess Moments, it should be, let's go back and watch hot mess content, aka Gabon, Jersey Shore, you know, those kind of things.
Yeah, really, pretty much the same.
Shot of love with tequila, you know, they're all the same, right?
Yeah, like really, 6 eggs in one hand, Crystal Cox, half a dozen in the other of Sammy and Ronnie. And then the third hand is Nazi tequila. Really, all balance each other out.
Yeah, crazy.
Remember that? Remember when she was in the Celebrity Big Brother house and people were like, by the way, she did dress up like a Nazi, and they were like, oh, whoops.
Our bad.
Whoops.
Ooh.
Oh gosh. In case anybody ever wanted to know how well they do screening.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've been new. Okay, well then what about this season in particular? Because I know there's been sort of up and down reactions to this season.
So I've said this a few times. So for those that don't know, like, I do talk about Survivor pretty much on a weekly basis on my Weekly Meltdown. So if you're looking for supplemental coverage in addition to the wonderful coverage you find here at RHAP, feel free to check us out over there. But I am kind of a defender of the new modern era of Survivor.
Oh, look at this.
So I like the idea of trying to change up the game a little bit. And I think we're kind of in this growing pains part of the season, right? You know, Survivor kind of started off being location based and then it was kind of theme based, and now it's kind of advantage based, right? And with all of those different changes came a few seasons of kind of growth that we had to go through. My biggest issue with this season has been the editing, where we're really missing story pieces and character development in weird places. And because we're all so trained in the old format, it has been really hard to sometimes follow the new format when it just feels like it's not cohesive sometimes. That's my biggest issue with it. But I love the people on this cast. I think it's because I love the people so much that I'm having a hard time rooting for one person in particular, or having like more of a stake in the game, kind of, so to say, which I feel like some people kind of need. But I'm not as bothered by it, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, listen, you're preaching in the choir, and nowhere was that more prevalent when you have Jesse starting the episode being like, look how great everything is. I know Carla has an idol. I'm great with Owen. And it's like, these are 2 things that I learned in the first 5 minutes of this episode that have been apparently out there for a long time. I do feel like, you know, the edit, I think, has taken a little bit of a step from what it was like in 42 back to sort of what it was in 41, which I feel like is a bit more episode to episode than it seems like a long-term arc, which I know that different editors work on different episodes, but it seems like for whatever reason, it feels like from a storytelling perspective, every episode we're kind of like resetting the deck and then moving forward from there. And it's like, we're finding out little things along the way, mainly in relationships, mainly specifically like who Jesse and Carla are close with as 2 of the best relationship brokers on the entire season. We find out second-handedly who they're closest with, and it happens to pop up in random spaces.
Totally.
So yeah, I definitely agree with you that that's probably my biggest sticking point with this season as well. But even when those things happen, I think, especially as of late, I think this season has been on a bit of a tear. I thought this was a really fun episode.
Yeah, I kind of felt like the past 2 weeks we have had two of the best episodes. And I honestly, it comes from people who I think were either under edited or were under I don't want to say underappreciated because I've appreciated like people like Noelle for like a long time, but I feel like the edit wasn't in a way to like have us really root for Noelle like we have in the past two episodes. So that is to me has actually been kind of fun to see all of a sudden people coming out of the woodwork. And we kind of got a teaser right before tribal council that like maybe Gabler was going to come out of the woodwork and do something. And I was like, whoa, this is really crazy. But I would have loved that, right? So like I think once we started seeing people start arguing and we saw people what was that last week? And we started seeing people really come up with really innovative ways to play with idols and advantages and do these different kinds of things. Then we're kind of like, oh, okay, we've settled into the gameplay now. But I also do think one of the growing pains issues with this season and generally for the new seasons is just that we have super fans who are used to the old model and know what you could be doing, and people are just playing safe because they don't want to overplay. Unlike in Big Brother, where you have like a lot of recruits, you don't really have a lot of recruits for Survivor. So what ends up happening is you have kind of like people stalemating. You have people who are going, okay, I've watched the show for 20 years since I was a little kid, and I'm not going to overplay because I know these other people probably have things that are going to take me out. So instead, I'm going to try to just go with whatever the tribe's doing rather than just really blow up the game. But it seems like we finally got to a point where they're feeling more confident in doing so.
Or at least I think they feel like they have to, right?
Yeah.
Because then there's sort of not a lot of other options because we are dwindling down now. This is what, episode 10? So we're sort of getting to the point where it's like you really need to start looking at your end game. You know, people like Sammy, for example, who kept talking about like, gotta make a move, didn't really, I mean, sort of made a move last week with like forcing the hand of Carla of being like, which we found out in the beginning of this episode, which was essentially Sammy told Carla right before, look, this is the way the boat's going, either get on board or get off the ship, essentially was my read of the situation. And then this was sort of Carla's retaliation move as, you know, part though of what Cody and Jesse were planning, right? So yeah, I think there's more movement now sort of starting to happen, which is also what makes it exciting in terms of the gameplay for the season.
Well, I think now we're seeing a trend for this new era, especially if they continue to do this whole splitterooski of like, hey, go off in 2 groups of 5 and vote people off. We are now, in my opinion, 3 for 3 so far, in the final 8 being like big player blindside, right?
Yeah.
Between Shan, Hai, and now Noelle. This idea of like, okay, we've shedded 2 people now. Oh crap, there's so few of us now and so little time left. Well, I guess I better start voting out the big players. I feel like that sort of has been the charting of the new era when it gets to the merge vote, is like the Murgatory whatever vote is just stay alive, get rid of whoever everyone wants to jump on. First jury member is usually like someone who's on the outs, someone who's really easy to pick off. Then you do your splitterooski thing, and then when you come back together, then you start culling out the threats. Which makes things interesting for people like Carla and Jesse. I think 2 of the people that, from an edit perspective, people are throwing a lot of weight towards. We have seen as of late that does not necessarily mean chalk them in for the finale, and it's interesting looking at the perspective of someone like Jesse with the checklist moves he was making here, with our sort of knowledge of, yeah, but in this day and age of Survivor, like the plan is pretty much Big Brothery kind of to lay low or like try to get some sort of core going and not stick out too much until like final 6, final 5, and then really start blazing a path to the end.
I definitely agree with that. And I think that what we've also seen is like the final 8 vote always is a big player. And then I feel like the final 6 and 5 vote is always a big player. So I'm nervous for like the Jessies and the Carlas for the next couple of votes as well. Even though they have idols. And, you know, Carla, pretty ballsy move to hold on to that idol this week. And I'm so happy she did because I really think that's going to come in handy for her.
I think also for like narratively speaking, if it is more of a 41 type of edit, I think then it's harder to track those longer stories, which makes it also harder to track who we think is ultimately going to be the winner here. Because I think Jesse on paper, right, is like, oh, he got this really great episode. He's had a lot of content throughout, but we saw Erica come out of nowhere, edgically speaking, right?
Sure.
And ultimately win the season. And so I just, my gut is like, oh yeah, definitely Jesse. Let's go Jesse. And then I'm like, but there's no way that could be the case because I just don't, like, 41 just messed with me.
Wait, okay, so speaking of Jesse, can we just talk about this motherfucker right here? This guy is incredibly brutal. And we don't think about it because he is so like soft-hearted and he has this incredible story of like, where he's come from. But like, let's look at his track record.
Let's look at his checklist.
Yeah, so his checklist. First off, hey, Nneka's like my mom. I don't want to vote her out. Okay, I guess I'll vote her out.
Mom.
Checklist number 2. Oh, Dwight, thanks for Janine's idol. Bye, Dwight. Bye, Janine.
Oh, and we were married, by the way, but we're divorced now. Bye, Dwight.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
So essentially, we got divorced, and I'm taking what you owe me, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
And then third, so we see here, like, Jesse is even tearfully a tribal council, right? Talking about, like, man, what Noelle was able to do for me. But the entire time is like, she's got to go. We've got to get rid of her. And that's what I love about the family visit is how, like, effed up it can be of, yes, bringing people on, or, when it used to be seeing people in person, in this case, getting letters from home is such like a nice connective experience. But for some people, it helps them remember, hey, take your head back to what you're playing for. Like, it's okay if you can break some hearts. You just met these people 2 weeks ago. You're playing for your family. And so I wouldn't say that necessarily like, oh, if Noelle didn't take Jesse on the reward, then she wouldn't be gone. But it's always interesting in how every negative can be spun into a positive in Survivor and vice versa. Totally. And this was a positive that was unfortunately spun into quite the negative for Noelle.
Yeah. I kind of think Noelle had like that incredible moment, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but where she comes back and she wins that challenge. And on the one hand, what a wonderful piece of drama in like Survivor. That's going to go down in Survivor history as like one of the best, if not the best comeback ever in a challenge. But on the other hand, I don't know if she needed to win that. I think she probably would have not gone home this episode if she hadn't done that.
I mean, let me be clear. Like, that's the thing. It sucks to see Noelle go, as I'm sure we'll break down her character. Yeah. This was 100% the right move. She did this thing with the steal a vote. She just did, as you saw, Beth, like, could show no matter where she is in a challenge, there's a good chance she could catch up and win. And then you remember what they talked about, like this narrative, right? Of she's somehow able to survive each and every time. Like, again, I think maybe she was a bit of a quieter player going to the last couple episodes compared to like the Shannon highs, but I feel like from a stature perspective, she was recorded as the same way, especially as of late, of like, there's so much stuff she's able to do now, let alone give her 3 more rounds of rope and see what she's able to do there.
Absolutely.
I would have this is I feel like we're missing stuff, because if I had to guess, I think that since the early days of Vessi, Cody and Jesse have had their eyes on Noelle. Like, because even the Nneka vote out really was about challenge strength. And then it was just sort of like a pray to God, hopefully we don't go to tribal because we have a 2-2 split, like possibly 2-2 split. So, and from there on out, then we really never saw another opportunity for Noelle to be a target for them. And so this just sort of, to me, I don't know, like, I think there's pieces missing. I think it was probably a long time coming because of the logic that Jesse listed, that was like, look, she's been able to, she had Justine, she then found Dwight, she then found, like, she is just such a good social player on top of then the physical, that I think she's always sort of been in the back of their minds as someone who cannot go further in this game. And it was just a matter of the timing of finding when it was the opportune moment to really take her out. And I'm sure the whole Jeff commentary thing just sent it over the edge. It would for me. I'd be like, get out. I will never win against you ever.
I mean, I do think that getting Noelle out makes a lot of sense. But there's also a part of me that really were like, this was the week, I think, to try to split up Cody and Jesse. So I got really excited when they teased us with this like Gabler Carla conversation right before Tribal, because I was sitting there like, oh my God, you can get Gabler, Carla, and Noelle for sure, all to be on the same page. And then you could definitely get Cassidy in there, right? Leave out Owen and Sammy because Sammy's going to blab it. I don't know about Owen. Don't get too many people. But you could absolutely take them off guard and vote out one of them right beforehand, right? And then you're getting out a power couple who are both incredibly strategic. And potentially, if you're getting out Jesse, get 2 idols out of the game, although they don't know that. I think that would have been the best move, because then you still have other opportunities then to get Noelle in after. I don't know how many opportunities now you have to really split up Cody and Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the best move for who, right? Or who,
right? Yeah,
right. And so I guess because I'm like, I have a lot of investment in like Jesse succeeding. So I'm like looking at this from his perspective, but also then, if you're someone like Carla, I think even for her though, I feel like she feels strong. I mean, this is me completely putting myself in her shoes. Sure. I would feel strong armed by Sammy for like forcing this upon me. Noelle and Owen are involved in that just by process of like, they all voted together. So I'd feel a type of way about that. So I think like if I were her, and then of course Cassidy's like your girl, you've had her for forever. I don't know. Those 3 are like maybe a bigger threat than the other 2, thinking like, okay, let me take care of at least one of those 3 first, and then maybe we can look. Because the look on Carla's eyes when Gabler is like, we need to think about Sammy and Jesse. She was like, yes. She just looked so excited. And a lot of the times on Survivor, of course, someone comes up to you and says, we should do this. You go, yeah. But she just looked like the joy, like Christmas morning of Santa Gabler coming down the stairs. Like,
Santa Gabler. Aortic valve and operating.
For you. Yeah. So I don't remember what I was saying, but anyway, yes.
No. This minute's for you.
I agree. But I think also on top of that, it's also a matter of relationships as well, right? Yeah. Like when you think about endgame, it's not only about who you can beat, but I think you also want to ideally fill your endgame with people that you think can take you. When I spoke with James last week, that's really how he wanted to frame his endgame, was like, listen, I want it to be more so about, I can tell my story in the end. I don't need to worry about that. What I do need to worry about is getting there in the first place. And so I would imagine, again, we have been told that Carla has this close relationship with Jesse. And so I could imagine that whether she was connecting with Noelle or not, Noelle also flat out did not just take her on a reward, which probably was not exactly the best thing. I was very surprised that initially I was surprised that she didn't take Gabler on the reward, because this is Mr. like talks about his daughters all the time, right? So like, well, why would you deprive him of the opportunity to do that? But then I realized that I'm pretty sure that, so I know Sammy and Owen did not do the merge feast, right? So like, I don't think they've done any sort of like those types of the rewards. I could see Noelle trying to be a bit more like egalitarian by saying, oh yeah, I'm going to take them along. And then maybe you then go for the sympathetic pick in Jesse. Yeah. But otherwise, I would imagine that if Carla's like, I feel better moving forward with Jesse. Yes, there's a very salient point there, Beth, of like, okay, well, maybe Cody won't take me, but the thing about a final 3 is that you could be there sitting at the end with a pair, and that's totally fine.
Totally. I also think it's weird that she didn't choose Gabler when Gabler dedicated a moment to her a few weeks ago.
I forgot about that.
I mean, that was pretty heartfelt. And, the proper reward for that is a letter from home. Just saying.
If only they could have brought the whole state of Alaska or whatever else.
Where's that furry face son? Just a paw print on a letter.
Yeah.
I even forgot about that. Like, maybe that's why Gabler voted. I was like, you dedicated a minute. I dedicated a minute of my life to you, and you spat in my face.
Give me a pillow to lay on for a night in the sanctuary.
Was that a different sanctuary, by the way, or did it look different? I feel like the sanctuary from 41 and 42 was like more on an island on its own. This felt like safely nestled along a coastline.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like a weather thing of having it sort of like out a little bit more isolated. So they make it, because it did look like it was just sort of part of like the side of an island kind of thing. I don't know. But yeah.
I only remember it being nighttime and Shan and Ricard talking to each other and then both being like, I'm gonna get you out. That's all I remember about that reward. Like,
well, because
really
what's also interesting was, so 41 apparently unseen, but they watched video messages from home. 42, if you remember, we had the ghost voices into the videos from home, right? Where it was like Omer and Mike and Lindsay sitting there in pizza. They're like, Mike, hi, it's me. And they're like, what the heck? What's in this pizza? So here is either, and I guess take what you will, like an upgrade or a downgrade to letters. I'm not sure. I don't know. Would you both prefer, if you were out there, like a video message or an actual handwritten letter from home?
I think I'd pick a handwritten letter. And I think the reason why I'd pick that is because the video message plays once and then it's done. The letter is like, one, it's something physical that you can actually hold. It's like a tangible item and you can read that over and over again. And I think that that can be more galvanizing in like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is who I'm playing for. And I think the repetition, the visual being able to see that, I think outweighs the actually seeing their face because it's so short.
Yeah,
I mean, the creepy voice,
agree.
though, that I would like to keep. So if we could keep the creepy voices into a letter reveal, that's like my ideal situation.
I want to be haunted by my loved ones, like it's Hunger Games Catching Fire, you know, in that one section of the clock, you know, like that's I want, but hopefully they're not like being attacked like in the Hunger Games, like.
Well, I think what we could do to co-opt another YA series is like make the letters howlers, right? From Harry Potter. Of just like you open it up and it's like, hey, Daddy, it's me! Get that money, baby! I
love the idea that they're just yelling at you though. Like it's not like angrily, like, how dare you leave your family to try to go into Thailand? And you're like, oh.
I mean, guilt is an incredibly great motivator, so I think that could help as well.
Yeah. I can't wait for the first person to be like, guys, I think I have to go home because I just got yelled at.
I'm in the doghouse.
I guess I got to win $1 million now.
But what they could do, I mean, whether they're yelling or not, I think that we can figure out. But you know those birthday cards that you open up, and when you open them, they play like a music. So I think you do that. So you have the handwritten letter, and then you also have and you go, you know,
but I think but they have to sing.
Yes, like an easy A.
Yes,
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I got it.
But they can't sing. They have to sing like songs from hit CBS reality shows to not get copyright infringement.
Could you imagine? It's like,
like, well, this is great. I have my son is singing ancient voices to me. Thank you, Noelle, for this experience. Really, I love it.
You can take that. You can keep it.
Yeah.
So the batteries run out.
The next card they open up is the whole universe was. Oh no.
No. All right. Well, Big Bang Theory fan. Maybe what they should do then for 45 and 46. Do we think we could do like VR family visits?
Ooh, okay. So yeah, you put on your Oculus and then you just sort of like
hug.
No, okay, all right. It's Among Us VR with the loved ones.
Whoever stays alive gets to actually have their loved one come out.
Yeah, all right. We can't afford, this is a new era Survivor. We can't afford any actual virtual reality space. We need to hop onto another server and use Among Us.
The only people in the metaverse. It's like Mark Zuckerberg and the Survivor family members.
Oh my gosh. I would love that so much. It's like for your reward. I just love the idea that like when Jeff gets like that, you know, like your reward is going to be pizza. There's going to be the sanctuary. And on top of that, you get to kill your loved ones in Among Us VR. Try not to trip on the sofa stuff in the sanctuary. Oh man.
Yeah, that's
so
true. They just posted up in the sanctuary the entire time watching people play Oculus.
I love that.
My God. I just like, I mean, you could expand it to anything. It's like you've got a Valorant PvP. I don't know if there's VR for that, but like, you know, you're like playing against your loved ones in the digital space. I mean, it's technology. We have the technology.
I am surprised that there aren't video game rewards, right? Of like back in 2005 of like, all right, the winning team gets to go play a round of Halo and eat hot dogs.
All right, you get to play Mario Kart, Rainbow Road, No items, just vibes. No.
Yeah, and then like again, it's like the Sammys of the world, right? Would be like, this is all I needed. This is what filled me up right now. Was getting to teabag Owen after winning King of the Mountain.
I love the idea that Sammy would have to then pretend like he knew what the games were that were older than him, though. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, I played this when I was in high school." Okay,
yeah. If you ask Sammy what seasons he missed in college, he'd be like, it's definitely not 40. Well, 38. Yeah, I didn't watch Edge of Extinction. That's for sure. Yeah. I'm 22.
Man,
did he get drink at the reward? Because there was wine and beer at the reward and he went, and I was trying to look to see if I could see him drinking, and I didn't see anything, or at least I don't remember seeing anything.
So I know
that's what I don't remember, because is the what's the drinking age in Fiji, and does that matter when you're filming a reality show for the US?
It doesn't. I believe if it's an American reality show, no matter where it's filming, you are following the laws of that country. That's why Will Wall, of course, had the infamous "and milk" for Will.
And milk, yeah.
So like the thing that I think, and this is me reading between the lines, Sammy has not confirmed this, but if I could give my own rationale as to like how you lie about it. So I believe Sammy attends Brigham Young University. And so I believe the Mormon faith sometimes discourages people from drinking. So I think an easy out, right, could just be like, I don't drink. I don't, like, again, Omer, very different type of faith, but like had a similar rationale last time. So I think he could very easily use that as an excuse, as opposed to, I'm technically under the age to legally drink, but you don't know that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I assume it's a pretty easy lie and people aren't going to probably push it, but just keeping an eye. The Fijian drinking age, I did look it up, is 18. So,
okay.
Yeah. If he leaves Survivor, he just swims away, then he'll be okay.
Yeah. No, if
what about at Ponderosa? Is he still then?
I think it's well, a camera's still pointed at you. I think you're still technically part of the show.
Yeah,
but there's no Ponderosa anymore, right? So
you like sneak a cut.
I like the idea that you're like, all right, put the camera that way, guys. I'm just gonna sneak a little beer here.
A sip from someone else's drink, you know.
Yeah, maybe that's why Amy voted alongside Noelle. She's like, wow, she snuck me a few sips of her red wine. I'm with her to the final 3.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Oh man.
And that's interesting as well, right? Is like, again, we're talking about the resetting dynamic. So it seems like at this point, the way things stood were Sammy, Owen, and Noelle, Carla and Cassidy, and then the 3 amigos in Gabler, Cody, and Jesse in the middle. Now, again, that could be shaken up again, but I guess that's the general sense of what these dynamics are going into the end game. Better late than never, I suppose.
Yeah. I think it will be interesting, though, because I think Gabler's just proven that he is not as loyal to the 2 guys. I do think that this... with getting Noelle out, I do think this is actually going to help Carla's game a little bit, because I do think the shift is then going to go to the guys, especially since Gabler was going to flip against them, which either means, okay, now you divulge that information and Gabler becomes the target, or you go for the guys, or Sammy's still there and people still don't trust him. He can always be there, kind of thing. And I think out of all the duos and trios and such, I don't think people will be as threatened by Carla and Cassidy now. But I say that, but they are the 2 last women. So you might as well just get back and, you know, get all of them out, right? That's what we're doing.
I mean, also 2 most recent winners of immunity challenges, right? Which is interesting. We've had a very varied group of people winning challenges this season, which works both for and against people, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh there can only be one. The last woman to reign supreme. Yeah. I mean, I think Sammy obviously feels like a little bit of a floater there. I think that he probably could shift anywhere. Gabler also feels like very floatery. So in terms of the only like what I feel are solid alliances, I think you've got Cody and Jesse, and then I think you've got Carla and Cassidy. And those are the only 2 that I'd be willing to be like, yes, definitely these people are for sure working together. Other than that, like, to me, it's kind of all over the place. And as we've talked about, seems to sort of reset each episode depending on whatever the goal is. We're talking trust clusters here, not alliances.
Well, and that's and that's purposeful, right? Is that it seems like a trend in this particular season has been like, okay, we're going to break up a pair, but we're going to leave the other person in the game because now you're not powerful anymore. And that's a reason why Noelle stayed in the game as long as she did. Let's get rid of Justine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we don't need to worry about Noelle. We'll keep her in. Okay, now we got Woodage White. We don't need to worry about Noelle for a couple more rounds. It seems like there's a lot of half measures being taken where, yeah, now we are down to really like two pairs who I would not be surprised if one of them ends up being broken up the next round as opposed to one of these other stragglers.
What I think is fascinating is that you have the 3 Baka men who are seen as like individual players who are kind of floaters. And they're like kind of working together, but they're not. And strangely enough, I kind of feel like they're in the best positions of the game because of that. Like,
because they don't have the threat of having a solid partner.
Yeah, and
there's not like a perception of them being locked into anybody.
Right. So like you have Jesse and Cody who have been locked in together since Vessi, and you have Cassidy and Carlo who have been locked in together since Coco. But then you have these 3 guys who don't appear to be locked in together, and they all come from Baka. And I mean, at any given moment, you could look at them and go, I mean, I guess I could see Owen and Gabler working together. I mean, Sammy's kind of working with everybody, so he's not really working with those 2. And I actually think that helps, especially Owen. I think Owen might be in the best position right now because he was a target. I don't see anybody talking about him now. I think they're going to look at those pairs and kind of go from there. So I don't know. I mean, it's going to be really fascinating to see what happens.
It helped when James left, right? When the guy that was like beating the drum of get rid of Owen leaves. And this could be a thing where, much like we found with Noelle, right? Now Owen is the new Noelle. He's the new
exactly.
In that he now is having the people that are ties to him gone, and he's like, okay, all right, I guess I'll just survive another day in the game. And as a result, people might be passing him over now, even though, unfortunately, this is yet another vote that he was not in on. Poor Owen.
Aww. But he's still there, still kicking. I do wonder if the fact that his name's been brought up so often, even though James isn't here to continue to put it out there, I like, my only concern of where he could go is because his name just sort of becomes that default name of, okay, we'll split votes between, someone and Owen, or like, let's all just consensus vote for Owen. I think that's really the only way. Otherwise, he's kind of in a little bit of a Romeo position, at least in terms of like, he's continuously being mentioned, but no one's voting him out. Is that going to be
Romeo with an OW for Owen?
Yes, Romeo. And so I just wonder if that can work to his benefit and sort of help we'll get him next time. Yeah, we'll get him next time. And then eventually, especially now, as we've talked about with a lot of the big targets being taken out, he can sort of skate under the radar.
Yeah, I think that, to your point though, Liana, about who's like the decoy target, I think that is no longer Owen. I do believe that is Sammy now. And this surprised me a bit because I feel like we had an assumption based on all the Sammy stuff from the 7 days that like, oh, he's slick, he's jumping ship, nobody's really paying attention to it, but people are really onto his game here. And I feel like, I mean, it was part of Jesse's plan very purposely, right? To be like, I'm going to get Sammy to say something so that, Noelle gets pissed off enough at him to put votes onto him.
Right.
I feel like there's a reason why that's the case. If it's like, oh, he can easily draw votes onto himself, I feel like that screams decoy target to me.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing that I want to talk about are the 2 challenges, because obviously we have the first one, which is sometimes Survivor will force those moments of the, emotional overcoming sort of feeling.
We keep saying this, but like Suri herself a couple weeks ago, didn't she not say that like the balance beam was like one of her top accomplishments in life? So I can't disparage it anymore.
Which is great for her. As the viewer, however, I wouldn't necessarily say that it made me feel the same way.
No, that's shade. No,
with Noelle. I mean, this really did. This really felt like it was so cool. I was like, no way. And then she came back and actually won. I was like, yes.
I got to watch this.
So cool.
Yeah, I got to watch this with my parents, and I normally watch this by myself. My parents are big Survivor people too.
Oh, nice.
And when I tell you, the 3 of us jumped out of our chairs as if we were watching like you know, like a sports game or something. We were like, yeah, we're like high-fiving each other. We're like, she did it. And like my mom had tears in her eyes. I was like, okay, I've not reacted like this to a Survivor challenge in a long time. So like this was really special.
It was so good. Because also, let's go back to the Suri balance beam. Like, imagine if they did this coaching through Suri crossing the balance beam and her team won. Like, that's on the level of this, right? Exactly, that it wasn't that Noelle merely crossed the balance beam. It's that she did it, and while everyone else was barely getting on, landed it in like 2 shots. And it was just like absolutely remarkable. I don't think since like Cass in the Final Four challenge of Cagayan have I seen such a fantastic, maybe Michelle Fitzgerald had a couple of these like really fantastic individual comebacks, but it was just, oh, it was so visceral. Like you could tell she just let everything out after it happened, because she was like emotionally overwhelmed with like, this is so frustrating. I can't get across it, for her to be like, oh, did it? Oh my God. Wait, really? Wait, I actually won this? What the hell?
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It was incredible. And then there was the immunity challenge, which was so boring. The montage of like all the dominoes just falling. I was like, I'm so bored by it.
I did love, there was one pan where it literally went boom, 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 like right in a row. And I did let out a pretty hearty laugh at that moment.
It was a good montage, I think, of the failings. And I think I did like when it cut to like Owen throwing down and Jeff's like, someone's eventually gonna win it. I think it was very sympathetic to like the way that we were feeling. That being said, to Liana's point, I can understand if not everyone wants to feel that way during a Survivor challenge of like, let's watch a bunch of people stack metal dominoes for 35 minutes.
I mean, the only thing that could have made this amazing for me is if somebody would have please, like, this is a perfect time to reach out to you future Survivor players. If you get to this challenge and everyone keeps dropping, please quote Sophie, Albert, grab my stack. Albert, grab my stack. I mean, Jeff would laugh. You know what's going to make the show, and you know what?
Jeff would laugh. Jeff has an interesting sense of humor this season.
Wow, you know, like it's
that is hilarious.
That's hilarious. There. Oh my gosh. Oh man. No, but like, just come on, give me some quotes. Give me something to look forward to, because it's not like you're really talking, because everyone's like concentrating in this challenge. You don't have anybody who's able to just kind of sit there like in another like strength-based like immunity challenges, like talk, like you're really trying to be precise and everything. So I don't know, just throw some quotes in there, make me happy.
This looked infuriating.
Yeah,
absolutely infuriating. And I think that's the other reason why I was not a fan, because I just felt so bad for all because every single time it fell, I could feel through the television set that anger and frustration. My setup would not be there if I were competing in this challenge. I would have yanked that rope so hard and just yeeted the whole thing over. I would have been rage quit. Speaking of video games, I would have rage quit, thrown my controller, smashed the television. Like, that thing is not surviving. I would have been so mad, especially if I was hangry on top of it. Oh no, that does not exist. It's in the ocean floating away.
I love that. You know what? I would love the idea of Jeff giving his sassy commentary for that too, and be like, Liana's getting upset at the setup. Liana's punted it to the moon.
Yeah, but then what Liana does to show that you never give up on Survivor, gets in her rocket ship, goes to the moon, gets her back, pieces, gets it back,
sets it up,
builds up that tower in one stack. Liana wins immunity. That's why
that's how you do it on Survivor.
That's how you get access
to
a rocket.
Moon, you get it back, you set it up, and then you do it.
It's going to be so inspiring. I can't wait to hear the music behind it. I thought Gabler actually had a really good strategy, though, because he put all of his little dominoes on the platform that then he would stack. So one, he wouldn't have to go back and forth, and also he would just consistently have the same weight as he tried to build up.
I mean, that's what you do in the operating room, right? You just always have one hand up on something with the other hand, or going in through the...
Yeah, you're like holding the IV bag up personally.
You're holding up the heart, right? And you're like, all right, got to make sure I
just take this heart out and hold it. And
hold it up here. Balance the other organs on top of one another.
I mean, listen, according to Jeff Probst, that's probably how he thinks heart surgery works. Because as soon as Jeff asks, like, Gabler, what's it compared to the operating room? And as soon as Gabler's talking, you can see Jeff's eyes just leave. His soul has left his body.
So dissociated. It was like,
I don't know these words.
my gosh. It was so good. I do wonder, do they take into consideration if somebody is left-handed? Because they have the same setup for everybody.
Oh, that's a great
No.
point.
So, because I know that Samotion, which is the infamous challenge, right, where you have one hand tied behind your back and you're taking the ball. Beth, you haven't seen Survivor Tocantins, but it debuted in this season infamously. So I know that everyone has the same hand tied behind their back there. And actually, people have talked about how it's disadvantageous to left-handed people. And so I do believe that, they were probably all holding it up with their right hand. And so, it probably screwed over. Well, I don't know, actually. If people, because they were moving it with their left hand, would that help with lefties or hurt lefties?
No, they're moving with their right hand. They're holding with their left hand.
They're moving with their right and holding with their left. So I don't know, because my right arm, I'm sure, is stronger than my left. So maybe.
But my right hand's more precise
my
if I'm placing things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, and I'm weak regardless. So it would just be a lot of me holding my hand up and being like, Jeff, my arm hurts.
Now, here's the thing.
Could
you choose not only which hand to use, but which appendage? Could you be like, I'll bite down on the thing to hold it up, and I'll use my hands to stack it?
I'm so thankful you meant the mouth and not something else. I was sitting there, I was like, that's a really impressive appendage.
Oh!
Jeff, can I put my dick on this and just stack?
My dick strength is unreal.
We need a step stool, Jeff.
My people's every day, though. Or what if you just face backwards? Can you just and then just your back is to the television or to the cameras, and you just do it the other way?
Then you get disqualified for just making bad TV, right? I feel like that's the number one rule of Survivor.
You don't know how strong and accurate I can be while I twerk, Mike. Okay. There will be a show. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, that can be entertaining as long as you just keep your butt moving while you're dancing or while you're stacking the things.
Could you imagine? Take this, Jeff.
Yeah, I know. I know that John Kierhofer likes to name challenges after classic rock songs. That one would have to be named after a Cardi B song, right? Just in honor of her. Nicki Minaj.
Is called the WAP now.
Not the WAP. Just imagine, all right, guys, today we're doing WAP.
They're like, but there's no water. There will be. Okay.
Well, next episode, actually, we're going to get a bit of WAP going on, right? With the Memorial Drowning People Challenge.
Yay! I'm so excited. I'm so happy it's back. More drowning.
I'm going to say it. I actually think I'd be really good at that, even though I have a lot of anxiety in life. That's a challenge when I was a swimmer. I'm pretty good at, keeping myself calm and knowing when to breathe and such. So that's one challenge in Survivor. I'm like, I think I could do this. Will I need therapy afterwards? Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about that challenge is they don't have to tell you what you have to breathe out of, what appendage, right?
Stay tuned.
If you breathe out of your butt, then you've got it locked in.
Oh, yeah. You just re-hook up your respiratory system and you're good to go.
Imagine you holding your hands up to your butt as it's sticking up.
I don't even think that's
stupidest image.
I actually think that's worse because
it's worse. There's nothing connected to your butt. You can't breathe out of your butt. Of course it's worse.
No, I mean, okay, fine.
It's a little bit worse.
I was just thinking of the way that the hole would be exposed is your mouth sticks up. So you've already got your butt, you gotta separate your cheek. Oh, could you take your cheeks latch on to the bars?
Oh yeah, so put your cheeks on the bars for the full spread.
Yeah.
And then you make the hand snorkel around your sphincter.
Yes. Nailed it. Okay. Get on this.
The panic's gonna set in. Your butt's gonna be filled with seawater. It's the worst enema you've ever gotten. Stay calm.
Oh my God. So you're drowning and you might have to shit too.
You're getting cleaned out. It's okay.
That's
right.
There you go. That's right.
Okay. Whew, good.
Well,
that was
this is what happens if you ask me to come on a podcast. I'm just so sorry.
Not even the B&B, just a general podcast.
A general podcast. It's you will eventually just be talking about breathing out of your butt, apparently.
We have been demoted from general podcast. I think Lieutenant podcast at this point. I don't think we're getting any stripes right now for breathing out your butt.
More of a private podcast, if you know what I'm talking about.
Private podcast.
Private podcast.
All right,
Oh, that's a good How I Met Your Mother reference.
well, let's get into Noelle here, because Noelle obviously had arguably the biggest story coming into this season, which was proven through her final episode. Liana, how did that translate for you pre-season as to how Noelle would do?
Okay, yeah. So I thought she would make the jury. I said that as the Paralympian, Noelle is the standout athlete on her tribe and helps them secure pre-jury immunity wins. But she didn't spend enough time making social bonds. So when she gets to the jury, she is just considered a physical threat and not a social asset. After the season, she will be cast in a Candy Cane movie as the side character Noelle. Like Noelle. Get it? Her ally would be Jesse, her enemy would be Dwight, and she had 25 confessionals. So flip those two, and then we're golden.
I'm just imagining like Polly Calafiore and Noelle Lambert starring in.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Noelle deserves so much better than Polly Calafiore.
Come here and kiss me.
She's like, no. She just does the side-eye thing when she's like,
yeah. Her, oh my God. Anybody want a papaya? Her expressions are so good.
So good. So good.
So I had even higher aspirations for Noelle. I had her making the finale.
Ooh.
So I said, true to her Kelly Wentworth prospects, I forgot she was a big Kelly Wentworth fan, she would be the first to find an advantage this season, which she was close. She gets a moment where she stumbles during a challenge and Jeff and the rest of the cast push her to keep going.
Oh no! Oh my God, that's amazing.
Wow.
True to her preseason strategy, she'll glom onto the most physical guys, including Cody, then Ryan, then Sammy. And then when her meat shield gets discarded, she then becomes the meat shield in Jesse's Angels. However, she gets cut right at the final 5 as people feel her story is too good for the end. Her closest ally was Ryan. Her enemy was Ellie. She had 30 confessionals, and the randomly generated phrase for Noelle was, I want a giraffe, but I'm a turtle eating waffles.
Oh.
Oh, that really makes you think, you know?
Really deep.
One of those great quotes in life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the turtle eating waffles. Oh, row, 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 row. I'm doing Jeff trying to be the duck. I think that just didn't really translate very well.
Yes. Yeah, I try to block that from my memory, but it just keeps showing up again.
Oh my gosh.
What is he doing?
He's trying to be Jeremy, but the level of cool is just not there.
I don't know if it's even that. I just
no, like that was well. Jeremy was like that was just a like he was doing the onomatopoeia. Jeff was trying to do like a Bluth-esque impression of a farm animal, right? Of like this is what ducks do, right? Do 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 do.
I was like, oh my God.
Has anyone even seen a duck? Yeah.
All right, so Beth, who do you think had the finger on the pulse of Noelle the best?
Well, this is tough because you clock the challenge portion there, Mike, especially for this episode. Liana was definitely the closest in terms of like placement. She had the right names, not necessarily the right relationships. Whereas I don't really see the relationships that you brought up being what was there. So I have to go with Liana, I think, for this.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say that's really impressive to be like, there will be a moment in the challenge where she'll stumble really and good. Jeff and the rest of the because I think the thing I do love about this cast is just like how much they genuinely do care about each other on a human level. And it was really apparent. It wasn't just her who was like had such a visceral reaction and let it all out. Like everybody, I think, really felt that even though I'm sure they were all like bummed that they didn't win, like they all were really happy and proud for her, which I thought was really wonderful.
They all swarmed her as soon as it happened. And they were like, I heard a couple of like, what? Whoa, which was awesome. Because like you said, these are people that are not necessarily cast to have that reaction.
Sure.
The people are supposed to be on the show, right? To be like type A little egocentric. So when they lose something, they're supposed to give that good TV reaction. But here I think it kind of supersedes it and is a bit larger than the game where you're like, a genuinely cool thing just happened. I don't care if it was at the cost of me. Like, this is
Right.
freaking amazing. I'm gonna crowd Noelle right now and hoist her on our shoulders as things for she's a jolly good fellow as we throw her out of the game a day later.
Yeah. Ignore that part of the movie. I missed the end of what, like Rudy Miracle, what on ice, like I missed
Rudy Miracle.
Well, not
Rudy
like
Miracle on Ice.
movie. But
Yes,
like,
Virginia,
or
there is
like,
a Santa
Remember the
Claus and he
Titans.
plays football for Notre Dame.
Yeah, throw in Remember the Titans in there. No, like all those like inspirational sports movies, like that's how it felt. Or like, I don't know, I assume Air Bud is in there. It's like hoisting Air Bud like above your shoulders. Yes.
Yeah, well, this would be
And
like,
you take
hey,
him to
Air
the
Bud, you won
farm.
the game. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to put Air Bud
That's
down.
what I'm
And he's like, that's where I come in, baby.
Like, I got a job for me.
Oh my gosh.
Poor Air Bud.
Oh man.
Okay. Whew. All right. That hurts my sides. Okay. Let's play a game. So I'm so happy that you brought up Jeff Probst being absolutely ridiculous, Mike, because there have been several tribal councils, but this one in particular that just was like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Between Gabler saying we lost wire capture, we're back in the aorta trying to recross the stenotic valve. I was like, what are you saying? Or mostly Gabler, these killers are working with silencers. There were just so many quotes that felt really bizarre. Yeah, you got to do the hand motion with it.
This man is human. I'm convinced, by the way.
Oh, I love it.
He's like, he got the worst understanding of human behavior shortly before he played the game. He's a lizard person, and he's like, this is what humans do. Fantastic. And he studied like a Florida man as some sort of example of human behavior and said, all right, this is what I have to do, I guess.
See, I'm more convinced that he's actually a manifestation of AI, that people just like plugged in words about Survivor, and someone who's like, oh yeah, you're going to be, you know, an older man on the cast, and you know, you're going to be a heart valve specialist. Here you go. And he's just AI generated Castaway. Like, that's what he is.
So I think that I would agree more with the AI side of things, like an AI from Detroit Become Human or whatever. But he did upload the Florida man personality. So like that.
Yeah, he dresses like it, right? Like he's like, all right, oddly long goatee beard,
but
camo
we'll have a
cap and matching
California
shirt.
accent. You know?
Yeah. Anyway, so lizard AI person aside, Jeff also had some weird lines, like talking about negotiating a car and then you never sign the contract that locks you in. Like, there were just so many weird lines.
That felt a little personal. I think Jeff might have based that out of like, don't you remember when we all bought cars without signing the dotted line?
Yeah. And we could never get locked into the price that we were promised. And then we had to overpay for the car that we thought we were buying.
Jesse, it's like making the movie Finder's Fee back in 2004 with Jenna Fisher.
It's like Herbie Fully Loaded.
Okay, yes. Anyway, so the point of bringing up all those ridiculous phrases is what I've done is I've generated a game I like to call Tribal Council versus Randomly Generated Phrase.
Oh.
Which is a very catchy name. It's TCORGP for short.
Torg to Gorp.
Yeah,
which sounds like the way Spielberg greets his fellow lizard people.
Yeah.
It's the onomatopoeia Jeff makes when he's trying to make a duck sound.
So essentially what I've done is I've gone and I've collected what I thought to be very bizarre or just like, really, this is what you said, phrases from previous tribal councils of Survivor. Now, all these lines are pulled from this season of Survivor. Okay. So all from season 43, because I started to go back further than that and it became a Sisyphean task and I gave up. So we're only sticking with ones from this past season. So I will read you a phrase, either one from a tribal council of this season or an AI randomly generated phrase. Now, I will say I used one that's a little bit more, I don't want to say like more normal than Mike's randomly generated phrases. So no turtle waffle.
I wanted to rap, but I'm a turtle eating waffles.
Yeah.
It's something that's said perhaps in every fifth line of a conversation.
I literally just said it at dinner tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, look, maybe this is the wrong audience for that. But so anyway, so hopefully that'll make it a little bit more difficult because I started with one that was much weirder. And despite how weird Tribal Council has gotten, it's not that weird.
Can we talk about that
turtle
for a
waffles.
second? Because I see your point, Beth, going back to what you said at the very beginning about how maybe editing is the thing you like least about the new era. honestly, for me, it might be like tribal councils now, because either they're really rote where people are savvy enough to not give away the ghost, and so they're just like giving non-answers, or sometimes almost in response to, it's Jeff Probst trying to milk a dry teat and just being like, give me something. I've got to make something happen here and fill 7 minutes, which is a little unnecessary. Tribal councils back in the day used to be like 5 to 7 minutes long. I feel like now we're going for like 10 minutes of tribal council, which feels, if you don't have the material, you don't need to stretch the time, is how I feel.
I think that makes sense. And I do, again, I think this goes back to, I'm not advocating we go for like half the cast or recruits or anything, but I definitely feel like you have, once we are kind of more accustomed to a different survivor, I think tribal council could come together. But again, like it's been like 10 years of, not 10 years, sorry, 10 seasons of like, all right, tribal, you're going to get the same answers all the time, just in different ways, unless there's something going on that they can milk.
Yeah, or it's whispering, right? And then you can't really hear what's going on anyway.
And please never bring that back.
I mean, could they do something where if they feel like tribal council is going a little stale, a production member sneaks up behind them and is like, Tori, let's get rid of Drea tonight. And then like they pretend like somebody said it. And so they just starts off this chain of events. Like plant a fake idol in someone's pocket and have it fall out.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh.
Production cause drama. Yeah, Jeff's trying, but sometimes you need a little bit more of an assist from the crew.
Yeah, Jeff goes, look over there. And it's just like something happened. Jada Essence Hall.
The Jada Essence Hall defense.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's kick things off. Let's see how well the two of you can do. So Mike, your first phrase, we'll start with you, is going to be, sounds like a coach talking to some high-priced players.
Yeah, this was a Jeff thing he said last week to Sammy, right? About James and Owen, probably quoting Rudy Miracle Airbud.
On ice.
On ice.
Yeah.
Did Airbud ever do a hockey movie? I'm sure he did.
I'm sure. Airbud,
I hope that was CGI'd.
Airbud, there's MVP Most Valuable Primate, but there's not a...
he never. I think that.
Oh no, there was going to be a movie called Airbud the Big Puck, which is alarmingly close to a different type of word.
Yes. Well, it got canceled though, so they didn't know what to do.
Airbud the Big Puck. It's like, oh god, where did this series go?
Airbud's really enjoying himself in this movie.
Oh my gosh, Airbud's grown up.
Well, he went from basketball to being Wilt Chamberlain in a different way.
Oh man.
Okay, Beth, let's go to you. Your phrase is, "Am I hurting cats out here?"
Oh, I don't think he said that. I think that's AI. But I feel like it's something he could have been saying when he was trying to get people. No, I think this is AI.
I'll give you a little bit of a freebie here in terms of it's not just Jeff. So there are some Jeff quotes.
Okay.
From,
see, that's the thing. I
Jeff,
thought, okay, that makes more sense. If it could have been one of the cast members, then this was definitely in the cast because I do remember
cats.
The cats were in the cast. Something like that. I can't remember if this was, I feel like it was like a Gabler or Carla or something like that. Somebody said that a couple weeks ago. But that's why I was like, I don't think it was Jeff.
Yes. Yeah. So it was a survivor. I believe it was Cody.
Yeah. Oh, Cody. Okay.
I think it was him talking about the Janine vote. Yeah. Where he's talking about like all the chaos that was happening. He's like, oh, am I hurting cats around here? I just want to sit down and have a meal and everyone's running around.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. All right, Mike, let's go back to you. A wand gets its magic from the intention of its wielder.
No. No.
What do you mean no?
Nobody said this on Survivor 43.
Oh, man. I liked it. This was my personal favorite.
I know that there's like some nerds on this cast. But...
That was actually Ollivander from Harry Potter.
I forgot he played this season.
Yeah, he was actually the third out. I know it's hard to remember that, but
yeah, he just kept cutting down trees to make into wands instead of actually. Maybe Ryan was the closest thing to Ollivander, just focusing too much on the natural environment.
Okay, well, I'm gonna use this phrase if I'm ever on Survivor. Just you wait, and then it'll be Survivor. But yes, for now, AI is the correct answer. Beth, back to you.
Okay.
Would you like your cash in 10s or 20s?
Oh my God.
Is this a spoiler of the future episode when someone wins and Jeff's like, all right, well, here's your $1 million.
Could you imagine? Would you like your $1 million in 10s or 20s? That would be so great.
Yeah, how many $10 bills is that? Is that like 100? No,
don't make me do math. Ask Liana.
Yeah, it'd be about 100,000 $10 bills, right?
Okay, is that but okay, so do you think they give it to them and then they have to pay cash on the money they receive, right? It's not like automatically deducted, probably.
Could you imagine if I were like, hey Jeff, listen, in order to try to, commit a little tax fraud here, could you just like pay me under the table
in cash
or with like $100,000?
Yeah, like
100,000 tens.
I'm gonna start spending it now. I'm gonna buy like a bunch of blow for the jury, like as soon as we go. So if you could just like slip me some payola,
just like an advance on my winnings,
like an advance on my $1 million.
Take one of those 20s that you're gonna give me and just roll it up a little bit, but easier. Just hold on.
And hey, you know what? One of those pens, that's for you, buddy. Thanks for all you do.
That'll be your little tip there.
Just
thanks.
Tuck it in his little like pocket. Just you can keep the change.
I feel like I'm gonna be horrible at this. I don't think this was said. I think this is AI.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
that was an AI.
I had a moment where I was like, I don't like that.
Yes. Okay, so Mike, your next quote. I've had plenty of relationships that seemed like they'd work on paper, but in practice, they were a bad idea.
This was definitely said by somebody. I don't remember who. I feel like it might have been like a Carla or a Dwight, but I know that someone definitely said it.
Yeah, that's wrong. That was the AI. Oh, that's your little trick. Oh, go be tricky. So
nice.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not all going to be wands,
or at least it was generated by the AI. Now I'm questioning myself. I'm like, I'm sure someone probably said this. I don't know. Whatever.
Said it. Maybe Gabe was the AI.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. So if something is something that Gabler said, but you did generate it in the AI, does it count?
I cross-referenced. I put a Jordan Kalish level of effort into this. Okay, so you know that there's no shenanigans going on here. Okay, so Beth, let's go to you.
Yes.
I've tried to tell her thank you, but what came out instead was I don't really know how to say it, but I don't like I tried to well, anyway.
I tried to tell her thank you, but all that came out was ha ha ha.
I feel like this was early in the season where I feel like this was like a funny moment or something that happened early this season. I think this was said at one of the tribal councils.
No, it was AI. I was just trying to throw you off.
No one said it.
I know. I thought it
was Jeff. No one's jaw fell off their body. Like,
I thought it was going to be a reference to like something. I felt like it was like what happened like in a team challenge, and somebody was like, I was trying to say thank you to it, and what came out was and like it was like ha ha ha. But yeah, no, I'm not voting this person out tonight. I don't
know. Okay, all right, so we are all tied up. It is 2-2. Mike, your phrase is going to be, my mom went on vacation and left my dad in charge of the house.
Oh, so this could be like a Jeff Probst analogy, right? Like we were speaking about of it's like when mom went on vacation and dad was in charge of the house, and look what happened. But I don't remember anybody saying that. And I did just Mandela affect myself with the last one. I'm going to say that was AI.
That is correct. Yes, that is AI.
Not me thinking this was definitely Sammy.
Doesn't it sound sound like something someone
Like
would
when my
say.
mom when my mom 3 years ago when I was 19
Yeah.
went on
Yes.
vacation.
Okay, Beth, back to
Yes.
you. We've dropped into the wave of our lifetime.
I feel like this is Cody or
The
like
slogan of Blue Crush.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think this is Cody or somebody or like Gabler or something.
Yeah, it's Cody.
Yeah.
I like was clicking through the AI so many times. I was like, find one about waves, find one about waves, find one about waves. But it wouldn't do a wave one. I was so mad. Anyway, so yes,
Dang.
that's correct. We're all tied up 3-3.
Okay.
Mike, we're going in to you. I've gotten a few phone calls here and there.
Oh, that is. I'm pretty sure somebody said that. I'm pretty sure it's in the early days when they were comparing like to ghosting, right, in terms of relationships and like, oh, you had the text, you slid into the DM. So I'm pretty sure when someone was asked about it, they said, oh, I had a few phone calls here and there. So I'm going to say a survivor said it.
That is correct. It was from the very, very first tribal council when Mariah was voted out. And they were talking about sending emojis and phone calls and trying to see who's putting out what. So yes, that is correct.
Well, if you're putting out, I've got a movie for you.
Oh.
Airbud.
Jack and Jill. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh, jack off, Jill.
Jack off on Jill. Okay. Beth, to you. All the bikes are missing either a wheel or a seat.
I feel like this is AI. Just my gut tells me it's AI.
Yeah.
Well, if you're missing the seat, that's
I don't know,
That's
which would you rather have missing, the wheel or the seat?
The seat. Because you can stand and bike.
no, I can't.
So you'd rather have the wheel missing?
Could you?
I'd
put
rather
them
there not be a
down?
wheel and then I just have to walk and I'm fine with that.
You just walk it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but even walking it, you could walk it easier if it's got a wheel and no seat.
No, I'm not bringing. I'm just keeping the bike on the side of the road.
That's like I'm leaving the bike there.
Bye. Yeah. I have
The
a
choice
friend.
between a bike with no seat or an inoperable bike, and you took the inoperable bike.
I took an inoperable bike and I said I'm leaving that and I'm just gonna walk. Or you know what? I'm gonna call an Uber. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
I have a friend who legitimately just was like, I don't want my car anymore and it's old and I can't get anything for it, and just like abandoned his car elsewhere. Came back 2 years later, it was still there. So he filled it up with gas and he brought it back home.
Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't that incredible?
That's like Homeward Bound.
It would have been Homeward Bound if the car had made itself come home.
Or it's like like Castaway, right? When it's like, oh, I've been stranded on an island. I came back and my owner remarried. Like, oh, they came back and all was all changed. They're different now.
It was so funny. He literally went and got the car back, and then his friend was like, I'll take it and I'll take it apart for parts. And so he's like, all right. And so I was like, why didn't you just do that the first time?
You can sell it for scrap whenever you have a car. You don't have to just leave it.
I don't think
He's
I've
just
ever
left
heard
it.
anyone in my life just abandon a car.
I had never heard that either. And it was so funny to me because it was literally like 2 years ago when he told me that he did this. And then like 4 months ago, he's like, yeah, you know that car I abandoned? I picked it up. And I was like,
my gosh.
what?
Where was it abandoned?
In Texas. So he lives in Austin. So it must have been, in the Austin area. So just chilling.
But I would have thought like in the middle of some sort of secluded forest, or I guess in the desert in Texas case, but no.
He was just like off the highway in Texas. So there we are. Just was sat there for like 2 years.
I wonder how many people debated, like, should we move that car?
You should just leave it. Yeah.
Was the car left with keys in it?
I literally, I think he probably did leave the keys just like right in there or whatever. But I'm the type of person that would have created like a conspiracy theory, but I've been like, I always see that car there and I don't know why that car's there, but there's got to be something like people drop drugs in there or something. And like, that's the pickup spot, I actually had that theory about, up in the North Country of New York. I was driving along all the time on Route 11 up in St. Lawrence County. And there would always be like what looked like these different colored filing cabinets off the road, like way back in fields. And I was like, I bet those filing cabinets are used for drugs. Like that's got to be like a drug exchange thing. And I told my parents about this, and they were like, "We have no idea what you're talking about. What are the filing cabinets?" I was like, "You take a look the next time we're in the car together." And so we drove, and I saw that. I was like, "See, look at those filing cabinets." They're like, "Beth, those are bee boxes. Those are literally hives." And they're just different colors. Those are not filing cabinets.
Just imagine if you had been so minded to be like, all right, I'll show you. Here, park the car. Here's your drugs. And it's just bees.
Just bees fly out of my face and sting me. Oh, no. So, yeah. So I'm not saying I'm the smartest person on earth, but I am saying I have theories.
You would be someone... You would like write immunity idol clues, right? They would be like, go to the giant filing cabinet in the middle of the woods, and people would have no idea what you were referring to.
Oh my God.
CBS, hire me. Clearly, I'm an ideas person.
My thought was you just trying to do those, you know, the like I am a human puzzles with the images, and it's like identify the pictures of the beehives, and you're like, there's no beehives in this picture.
There's filing cabinets here. What are you talking about? Yeah.
I mean, that would be odd if it's just like, all right, bang, bang, here's my drugs in this. No one, surely the cops will not pay attention to the lone filing cabinet in the middle of the highway.
They probably won't up in St. Lawrence, to be honest. There's just a lot of shit in people's yards. But these were like fields.
People trafficking up there. Like, what?
Well, the reason is because we're right next to Canada. There's a lot of drugs that come through,
Maybe
actually.
like prescription drugs, you know? It's like cheaper to
Oh,
get in Canada or something.
yeah.
So it's actually like a good thing.
They're like, we're actually helping people get insulin for like, for a good price.
A reasonable price.
The old insulin filing cabinet
system. Yep.
Ideas person. Insulin filing cabinets in the middle of, fields. Just go grab it.
Oh my God. Just get insulin with this one easy trick. Big Pharma hates her.
It's like they should have just done that during Prohibition. Like, oh, you need to drink? Just put it in a big filing cabinet full of whiskey.
But you know what? Now my theory is I was like, you know what? I bet there's no bees in there. I bet it's full of drugs. That's what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yep.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. No one's ever seen the bees, have they?
No.
All right, let's try to continue here. Mike, we're going to go back to you. Your phrase is, I put the sword right here, and if you want me to fall on it, I will.
Ooh. Oh, man. Yep. This, Jeff said this, I believe, about Ryan, right? When he did his whole ploy of like, oh, well, if I get voted out, I want everyone to say something nice about me in the voting booth. And then Ryan and Jeff was sort of making fun of Ryan placing that sword in front of himself.
Yes, that is correct. I should have gone back to like some random season and tried it from there. I don't know how you remember all this stuff, but great. I was like, oh, I don't remember any of this happening when I rewatched the Tribals. Okay, all right. So Mike, you've got 5 points. Beth, you've got 4, but we're going to Beth.
Okay.
Your phrase is, why am I always the parent?
Oh.
The great thing about being the parent is that neither one of you, the good thing about being siblings is that neither one of you is the parent.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, man.
Actually, I believe it was that one of you is the parent, which makes it even more nonsensical.
Breaking down human relationships.
Why am I always the parent? If that sounds like something like that does sound like something one of the castaways would have said. But it's not coming to mind like who or when this was said, so I'm going to go with AI.
Should have trusted your gut. It was a Survivor phrase. I actually don't remember who said it, but I have in my notes that it was Survivor, so I'm going to assume that I took the correct notes.
You remember?
What was the phrase again?
Why am I always the parent?
I feel like it may have been, I don't know, maybe it was like a NECA quote or something.
Or Jeff, to be, again, a lot of them were Jeff.
Yep. No, Jeff did, because you know what it was? It was Gio doing his own analogy, right? Taking the flint. It's like when your parents say, okay, no TV. I have to always be the parent.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. See, I was sitting here thinking it was like somebody who was organizing a vote and trying to be like, why do I always have to be the parent to like, wrangle the kids or whatever? But I was also like, why would you say that at Tribal? So I was like, that sounds like a confessional phrase more than it does like a tribal phrase.
Okay. So for the first time, we have Mike ahead by 1. as you know, with even rounds. So let's go into our final round. So Mike, if you get this one right, you've won the game. If you get it wrong, then Beth has the opportunity to tie.
Okay.
So Mike, your phrase is, I put myself in the money position and I didn't deliver.
This was definitely said, I don't know if it was by Ryan or Cody, but it's definitely one of these guys, right, that put themselves in the hero position in the challenge. I feel like I got duped here and that it was an AI-generated phrase, but I'll stick with my guns and say Survivor.
No, that is correct. Yes, it is from Survivor. So unfortunately, Beth, you were mathematically eliminated, but let's just see what you think about this last phrase.
Okay.
Do you really want to play this game with me, mister?
Gee, mister, do you really want to play this game?
You willikers. You want to play this game with me?
We don't have enough Survivor contestants playing little sailor suits holding lollipops, in my opinion.
It feels like, is this like the 1920s version of Saw? Like, hey, would you like to play a game, mister? You know?
I'm just going to go into my filing cabinet and drink up before I take on this game of torture.
I'm going to say AI.
Yes, that is correct. All right, so
what gave it away?
I know, mister.
I mean, you never know. Somebody would have somebody could have said that sarcastically or something like that. I feel like that could have been like a NECA or like, do you want to play this game with me, mister? Like something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations, Mike. You are the winner. I just want to read a few other phrases that were randomly generated that I didn't use because they were just, I felt too ridiculous. One, is Armageddon really the best name for a goldfish? Which I think yes.
No, it's Armagolden.
Oh, Armagolden. Yes. Got to get the pun in there. Yes. Okay. That was one. Another one was, those hairless cats are completely loyal to their owners.
Oh, Todrick reference. Who would have thought?
Right? And finally, oh, wait, no. There were two more. Okay, so geese are annoying because they walk slow across the street. I don't know what that means. Yep. And then the one I really wanted to use, but I couldn't think of where it would make sense. The door slammed down on my hand and I screamed like a little baby a boy. Ugh, a little baby boy.
Buoy.
Buoy.
Nobody ever refers to themselves as a little baby boy.
Not a little baby boy. This mall is so big I can't find the exit. Anyway, there were a lot of really fun ones, but
that could actually work in Survivor, right? Like, there's so many places to shop, but this mall's so big I can't find the exit.
Yep.
I can't find the idol anywhere.
Okay, well, that was fun. Congratulations, Mike.
Yes,
I mean,
Mike.
listen, the fact that we both got questions wrong means that there really truly is like a Turing test going on, right? Of like weird things said at Tribal Council versus randomly generated phrases.
Yep. And I think if we could have used the phrases from this episode, which obviously I didn't want to use because we had just watched it, I think it would have been a little bit more confusing. But congratulations. You guys did an almost perfect job of spotting the humans from the AIs.
Well, all right. We're going to call that the Gabler test.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, Beth, I'm going to give you one final test. As is customary on the B&B, we like to shine the spotlight over onto our guests to highlight a charity or cause that is important to them. So that outside of the very stupid, very lurid things we got into this week on the B&B, people can dedicate their time and perhaps their funds elsewhere. Is there anything you'd particularly like to highlight this week?
Yeah. So I was giving this a little bit of thought beforehand, and just given that we're in November, Thanksgiving just happened, Giving Tuesday is Tuesday, those kind of things. And we're trying to be charitable with our thoughts. I also thought it was important to reflect upon the idea that, this is Native American Heritage Month. And so I think it would be great to support the Native American Heritage Fund. And it's a wonderful organization that puts funds to making sure that Native American people in nations are supported, that various different cultural needs are supported as well. And I just, let's use our little platform for good to make sure that we're giving them the proper support during this month in their time. Believe Native American Heritage Day is today as we're recording. So here we are. So I think that would be an appropriate fund to support.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So feel free to check that out. Thank you so much, Beth, not only for highlighting that cause, but for coming on in general. I know that people get to check out your Survivor opinions every week on My Weekly Meltdown. Suffice to say, I do think the way this podcast went is probably not traditional to the stuff they usually talk about there. So happy to show a different shade of Beth Dixon, as it were. But yeah, this was awesome. So happy to have you on the B&B for the first time. Certainly not the last time.
Oh, well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you again for the invite. It was so wonderful to talk with Liana about Survivor, because we always talk about Drag Race together. Mike, it's always a pleasure to have an opportunity to chat with you, and especially, you know, someone who's so involved with the Survivor community. So thank you both so much for the invite, and, you know, hopefully it, you know, won't be the last time that we get to talk about Survivor together.
Oh, definitely not. Now, that being said, you were doing a lot of talking, whether about Survivor or other things out there on the internet. If you want to check out other stuff that you're doing, how can people follow you and see the other coverage that you're doing, either current or upcoming at some point?
Sure. So you can catch me at AugustaWind11 on TikTok, Twitter, Hive, Instagram, whole 9 yards. So if you have any interest in following me in those places, feel free to do so. I will be doing one other episode of coverage for Dragula for RHAP in a few weeks' time, when after the finale, Jeremy Carey will join me again for that, which will be fun. And
how many times is that the first time you've ever? Because I would always say Jeremy Carey every time.
Jeremy Carey. That's actually the first time I've said that, but you know what?
Wow.
That was a little tongue twister for me today. It must be all the tryptophan from the turkey yesterday. Yeah. So you can catch me there in a couple of weeks' time, and of course, Liana, Amon, and I will be back. I feel like in like a month and a half to talk about Drag Race for probably a never-ending season once again. So that'll be fun. You can always catch me weekly on My Weekly Meltdown, discussing Survivor. And we'll probably actually be doing a rewatch and having maybe Omer come back and talk with us to Survivor Trino. So for me, won't be a rewatch. It'll be the first time. But yeah, so I might actually get to see that for my first time. It'll be great. If you want to check out any old content, you can always go back to Hot Mess Moments, where Dylan and myself covered Lost, The Nanny, and just gay shit. So feel free to go listen to us be just complete messes.
Incredible. Liana, what's been going on with you? You've had your hands busy with a double helping of Masked Singer in true Thanksgiving gluttonous proportions.
Yes. So we actually we did the thing where so it was like the end of one of the groups and then the semifinals were the 2 episodes. So we recorded like a 2-part podcast where we record the first part, stop down, watch the semifinals, and then recorded that episode. So you sort of get like, we don't know the outcome when we do the first episode. So that's a lot of fun. We recorded that today, so that should be out soon. And then also Lego Masters had a 2-part episode as well. So this weekend, my sister and I are going to be talking about episodes 8, 9, and 10, and then we have another episode and then a 2-part finale after that. So there's so much TV on Fox right now. I know. So that's definitely strong and kicking. And I think you should definitely check those out. It's just, there's just really silly, just fun shows. So
I just cannot believe, like, in my lifetime there are shows that air outright new episodes on Thanksgiving. Right? Are they just like, are they banking on people already being done with their stuff by then? Or are they just like, screw it, people will watch it at some point?
The Masked Singer episode was a lead out from the football game that was on before. So I think that was the hope, but it was literally a Thanksgiving themed episode. So I don't know, because they could have aired it the day before on the Wednesday and that had been the Thanksgiving episode, but because maybe baseball like pushed it back because we had the 2 weeks, we only made up 1 week. So I think they had to end up airing 2 episodes because of that. I don't know. And then, they also aired 2 Lego Masters episodes. Very questionable choice, but, you know, whatever. Fox be foxing. So I'm just here to report on it and not make any decisions.
Oh, I love it. So you can follow me at a Mike Bloom type, as has been mentioned across the board, specifically by Rob, because of the Thanksgiving holiday. All CBS Exit Press has been pushed back to Monday. So I'll get the chance to talk with Noelle on Monday, which I am really excited about. Again, seemed like such a force in so many ways out there. I'm sure she has a lot of great reflections back on not only what happened out there on the island, but also I can only assume the goodwill that she has received, her own form of Thanksgiving this past week with everything that happened in that episode. So I'm really pumped to talk to her. We'll also talk to the team most recently eliminated from The Amazing Race. Got to do the Amazing Race podcast. We did that late on Wednesday night, and you could tell because Rob and I in particular were quite loopy. Watch the video. I don't think you'll regret it. It was a very fun time. We're encroaching upon the final couple weeks of that as well. And then over on post-show recaps, taking a bit of a hiatus from things. Josh and I are covering Heroes, but otherwise we are sort of hibernating, as it will, until a big project comes our way in December. But we still have one more week of November left, or at least a smidge of it. I believe it'll be December next when Liana and I record our next B&B podcast, which we'll be doing. Luckily, we were able to reschedule Beth to come on this week, and the reschedulings continue as we're going to bring Mari Forth back on to talk about all things going on with the final 7 of Survivor 43. Was this truly a sign of a possible splitting up of Jesse and Cody? Will another pair get targeted? Will something else wild happen? Who's to say? But I'm excited no matter what, and I'm very thankful that we have the B&B to do some very silly, very, very stupid things. Again, thank you all for listening. This may be the line. I think a lot of stuff we did in this episode, some people will be like, all right, maybe not that type of stuff. But regardless, anyone who's along for the ride or even just on the road with us is incredibly appreciated. Leon and I have been doing this for, this is 5 years of doing this now.
Wow.
So,
Wait, really?
yeah, Survivor 35 was the first time we did it, and that was 2017.
Whoa.
Wow.
Incredible.
And this is what we're doing? Oh my god, we've just wasted 5
The
years.
lines on my face, they're growing.
God, we were doing this for 5 years. The most creative idea I could come up with was AI or tribal.
To be fair, Survivor's been doing it for 42 seasons, and the most creative they could come up with is the knowledge is power advantage 7 times.
Yep.
Exactly. Listen, so we're just in line with them, but I'm grateful for the 5 years, grateful for hopefully another 5, and who knows, more to come in the future when it's just Leon and I as AI podcasting.
Yeah, I will be uploaded to the metaverse. I will.
So if you have game ideas, be they AI generated or not, of course, feel free to reach out, rhapbnb@gmail.com. We are, getting down to the final 3 weeks of the season, but that doesn't mean we're not open for games. So feel free to send them our way, and we'll maybe get into them even starting next week with Mari. Special thanks to Scott St. Pierre for editing everything behind the scenes, and Will from America for his classic theme song. We're going to be back next week talking more Survivor 43. Thank you all so much again. Until next week, we'll check you out at your next stay.